15 beers on a Tuesday afternoon. 15 beers on a Tuesday afternoon. Fuck yeah!
Welcome back to 15 Beers on a Tuesday afternoon, episode 14. I almost got myself a little mixed up there because I'm fucking booze hound. All right, we had Paul Heath up on episode 1, or our first interview. Now we're going to talk to Travis Kilgore, who I met while he was coming through Kingston playing bass for Mark Porkchop Holder and the MPH. We'll give him a call right now.
Yellow.
Hey, what's up, buddy?
I just sitting here listening to the rain, man. What about you?
It's pretty much doing the same. Well, no, drinking beers and talking to people actually is what I've been doing. Then I ran up and peed real quick while we played a Scarlett Love Conspiracy song. That's you and your partner's band, right?
Yeah, it's me and my wife and a couple of dear friends of ours and my eldest youngin when they're not off living in Pennsylvania instead of down here in God's country.
Oh, does that happen? They run off and it's like a reverse. What is that called with the people that drive the carts, the like Dutch country, like Ramashamagan something, or where they can like run off for a little while.
Rumspringa.
Rumspringa, yeah. So it's like a reverse Rumspringa where your child runs off to Pennsylvania. Do they churn butter and do that opposite stuff and then come back to the wild Tennessee?
Well, I don't know about churning butter and all that shit, but I know they're not playing rock and roll and raising hell. So,
all right, that's an interesting, reverse. I like it.
Instead of Rumspringa, I guess it's actually Unspringa.
So how's it going, man? How's you're in Chattanooga?
Well, I'm actually in Rossville, Georgia, which is just across the state line from Chattanooga, but
Gotcha.
It's the metro Chattanooga area.
So is that like Rossville Boulevard? Is that where Bruin Q is?
It is.
Okay, yeah, all right. I spent some time down there with Husky, so I don't want to say I know my way around Chattanooga, but I know, the Rossville.
Yeah, the Bruin Q is probably 5 miles from here, maybe less.
All right on. What's stuff like there now? Our shows are happening in Tennessee, right?
Yeah, there's shows going on, man, but as I say every time I pass a church or any large gathering or anything like that, I say, them motherfuckers going to get the Rona.
Yeah. So you guys have been playing it cool, kind of sitting back?
Oh, yeah, I've been playing in my living room and getting together with Chop to work on music in his living room,
Gotcha.
And that's it.
Okay, right on. Live streams and stuff have you guys been doing, or are you just like working?
Not yet. I'm kind of down for that, but I think Chop wants to have his ducks more in a row. Of course, I mean, he's more methodical than I am, so that makes sense.
Yeah. Are you guys working on a new album?
Maybe.
Oh, it's top secret? Is it?
Yeah. I don't know what I can confirm or deny, so I'm just going to be real cagey and confirm or deny nothing.
All right, fair enough. So, but it's you and Mark Porkchop Holder, maybe some Doug involved, maybe not.
No, man, Doug's living down in Clarksdale these days while we're in we're back here in Chattanooga.
Gotcha.
Yeah, this isn't secret at all. Mark has been spending a fair amount of time at a local rehearsal space with this drummer named Nick Sturkey.
Okay.
He went down to Mexico with us
I gotcha. Okay, yeah.
And the Right Reverend James Legg played a couple days down in Mexico, and the aforementioned Right Reverend James Legg has been hanging out at this rehearsal space too. And me and Chop have been hanging out.
Yeah.
I'm not confirming or denying anything. I'm just saying stuff that has been said publicly on Facebook.
Unfortunately, this is not a prestigious blues podcast where I get to break stories or anything. But when was that?
Hell, just for that, when there is an announcement to make, I'll my God, make sure you're the one to make it.
When was that Mexico? That was like a year ago, 2 years ago?
Mexico was 2017, so
Okay,
3 years.
3 years ago. And what was that like? You guys did about a week, right?
Well, we were down there for about a week, but we only did 2 shows. We flew from Nashville to Dallas? Is that right? Or no? Did we fly straight from Nashville to Mexico City? I think we flew from Nashville to Dallas and then flew from Dallas to Mexico City.
Right
stayed the night, got up the next day, and rode 7 hours to Guadalajara and played a show there. Stayed the night, drove 7 hours back to Mexico City the next day, played that show. Up to that point, that was the most rock and roll show of my life. That was crazy.
Mexico City?
Mexico City, dude. Yeah, it was amazing. And then we got to hang out in Mexico for about 3 days, I think it was, while we were waiting on our hosts to get money for our airline tickets, because we didn't actually go down there to get paid because there's visa laws and all this and that. But, we got flown down, fed, and all that. And we had to wait for them to get the money together for our plane tickets. So we spent about 3 days fiddle-farting around Mexico City. As for how it was, the shows were amazing. And for anybody who's listening who needs to hear this, if you're listening to that orange shit stain in the White House and his hateful rhetoric about the people that are coming north across the border, I saw more dignity and hard work going on in Mexico City and Guadalajara than I've seen anywhere in the goddamn United States. I was sitting there having dinner with some friends at a mall in Mexico City, and it was one of our hosts and his dad who didn't speak any English, so me and his dad are having this conversation through him as the translator.
Yeah.
And his dad asked me, he said, did anybody try to warn you against coming to Mexico? And I said, yeah, I heard stories about, kidnapping and all sorts of silly shit. And he said, well, what do you think of that? And this didn't need to be translated. I think the gesture's pretty universal. I just made a real exaggerated masturbation gesture, and the guy laughed. And, he asked me what I thought of Mexico. I said, man, the people are friendly as hell. It's a beautiful, beautiful countryside. The cities are beautiful. It's, I loved it down there. I already was not inclined to be prejudiced, towards my brown kin from across the border, but actually having been down there amongst them, for a week or so, like it was even less so. Everybody was friendly. Everybody was helpful. Man, I didn't have anything but good things to say about the Mexican people while I was down there. I would go back in a heartbeat.
You got a little pooch there, huh?
Yeah, it's our vicious guard dog.
I feel like he's trying to chime in.
He's a Chiweenie. He's 3/4 Chihuahua and a quarter Dachshund.
Right.
So he's one of those little shiver and piss dogs that's made of hate and hate and aggression.
What was Mexico City like? That's a really big city compared, like world-wise. It's like not.
Oh, Mexico City is huge, and I think the oldest city, maybe on the planet. I can't remember. I'm almost certain it's the oldest city in North America. Okay. Mexico City is beautiful.
Yeah.
It's you drive around during the day, and the Mexican people will paint their homes and their businesses really bright, vibrant colors.
Okay.
And it makes this interesting mosaic pattern, as you just kind of take a panoramic scan of any area.
Gotcha.
It's absolutely beautiful. And then at night, the streets in town, you'll have like 2 or 3 lanes going in each direction with a great big wide like avenue of grass separating the two, like the biggest median you've ever seen with, landscape trees and stuff like that. And they had colored floodlights pointed up at the trees, so even at night it's a riot of color. It's fantastic and much colder than I expected. It was Mexico in August, and I was kind of expecting Satan's nutsack, but we had forgotten to take into account that it's at 5,000 or 6,000 feet. So it was surprisingly cool.
Yeah, right on. I don't know shit about like Mexico City is on the eastern side relatively of Mexico, right? If I'm not mistaken.
I believe so.
So,
My knowledge of Mexican geography is pretty limited.
Yeah. I mean, you're better than me because you've driven 7 hours. What about Guadalajara? What was that show like?
Didn't get to spend as much time in Guadalajara. It was literally show up, go to the venue, load in, sound check, eat, play, sleep.
Yeah. Gotcha.
As is so often the case on tour, regardless of country. But the little bit that I saw, it was cool. The venue was cool. The crowd was really enthusiastic. It was a fantastic experience.
Yeah. Is James Legg from Tennessee, or how do you guys know him?
Man, I think he was actually born in Texas, and I know he's got a bunch of family down there. But I believe he moved here, young, like 2, 4, 5, something like that. So he kind of grew up in East Chattanooga area. We call Birchwood. The locals will understand that. So yeah, I think he has tattoos of like Texas and Tennessee on his arm. So.
Yeah. So a bunch of you, not only Husky and you guys, but yeah, this fucking Chattanooga blues scene is kind of a thing, huh?
Yeah, much to my surprise.
I was there was a day, like Husky's been to my house a bunch of times, and there's been a bunch of afternoons that we've just kind of sit around here either before or the day after the show, and he's playing my roommate's kind of beater guitar. There's one day where he just figured out most of the second side of Injustice for All from memory, just like playing whatever. And then you were here when y'all van broke down, so you were here for a bunch of days playing that same guitar, doing some other Metallica songs.
You mean like
exactly like that? So I didn't realize I could start a YouTube channel called Chattanooga Blues Musicians Play Metallica songs on my roommate's guitar. In New York.
I'm telling you, if I ever get back to Kingston, I am down for that.
Yeah. Husky was supposed to be here, I want to say, early July, but obviously everything got canceled. So.
Yep.
And you are a Metallica fan that enjoys the newer. You're my age, right? You're 45, I believe, right?
45, yeah.
See, I'm kind of a snob after Injustice. You're not so much.
Man, if you take the stuff that people have bitched about since Injustice for All and let any other band in the world put those records out, they would absolutely be raising hell about what great heavy rock albums they are. We're talking about like the Black Album and the Load albums. We'll come to Saint Anger in just a second.
Okay.
But like the Black Album and the Load albums are kick-ass. Black Album's still unquestionably metal. The Load albums have their metal moments, but even it's not like they did pop country. It's still good, hard, just driving ass, pounding ass rock. And the best songwriting of James Hetfield's career occurred on Load, the song Outlaw Torn. If James Hetfield lives to be 997 years old, the Outlaw Torn is the best song that man will ever live to write, and I would stand on his dinner table and say so if it was a sturdy dinner table that had steps going up to it.
Yeah, I think that they just led me down such a road, with Ride of Lightning and Master of Puppets, that even Injustice for All for me was like kind of like, yeah, okay, this is good, but it's not,
man,
it's not. Those two for me are just like something otherworldly,
Man, what it is for me, I connected with. And there's all kinds of things about the music that I could sit here and geek out about. Every instrument, every player that's ever been in the band. But honestly, what really sealed the deal for me was Hetfield's lyrics.
Yeah.
And those, I have connected with those on an emotional level that no other band has touched, and very few have even approached.
Yeah. Okay.
And that hasn't changed across the eras and the styles.
What was the first song of his that like really got to you?
Well, one, as stereotypical as it sounds, is the one that made a fan out of me. Now, you got to understand, man, I grew up down here in Dumfuckistan, the buckle of the Bible Belt. And, heavy metal is the devil's music and all that shit. And even though I didn't grow up in a particularly religious home, you're default Baptist down here. Unless you were actively brought up something else, you are default Baptist.
Yeah, okay.
And so my next door neighbor, Grant Sweeten, who was, God, I forget how much older than me, but he was the rebellious older kid, and he would walk around with his boombox, and I can remember him coming over to visit, and he had Kill 'Em All in the cassette player on his boombox, and I heard this voice go, "Am I evil? Yes, I am." And I was like, oh my God, it's so satanic, But then I got older and became an angry young adolescent, and they released a video for one, and this was back when MTV still played music, and so if you watched MTV at all, which we all did all the damn time, you couldn't get away from this video.
Yeah.
And it got into my head, and I had another friend, a guy named Gary Bowen. He ran me off a copy on cassette.
Yeah.
And, man, I was 15 years old. I'm 45 now, 30 years later. Still nothing gives me a charge like they did.
Yeah, right on. So is Injustice one of your favorite albums then?
Then you got the new stuff. What's that now?
After you heard it, in one, I'm guessing you bought Injustice.
Oh, yeah.
And then you went back to Master of Puppets, back to Ride the Lightning. Okay.
In exact reverse order, just like that.
Okay. Yeah. It's like, I feel like the only two that makes, the first three make sense to me. Kill 'Em All, into Ride the Lightning, into Master of Puppets. And then I don't know. I guess it makes sense, but after that, it's kind of where maybe they just couldn't go any higher. Like I don't know.
Man, I mean, again, my favorite song, well, I can't say favorite. That'll depend on my mood on any given day. But the best song is on Load, and it's, this song Outlaw Torn, like I mentioned.
Yeah. And
it's about Hetfield's complicated relationship with his mother, and that's one of the things I liked about the Load album. Heavy metal is anger music, and Battery is about smashing through towns and killing people and all that shit, but it's not really about that. It's about being angry at your fucking dad. It's heavy metal. All this stuff is couched in this imagery, and we're all talking around the issue instead of actually talking about it. But it's like Load and Reload, they're like, you know what, fuck that, I'm just going to write about the shit that hurts. And it was fucking stunning. And there's a breakdown that occurs twice in the song, before and after the solo. And it's actually, if you listen to it, it's really influenced heavily by two different songs by The Who. See Me, Feel Me, Suck Me, Fuck Me, whatever the fuck that is, from Tommy.
Yeah.
And then the other one is Behind Blue Eyes.
Okay.
And, he's like, see me, and if my face becomes, see me, if I close my mind in fear, please pry it open, hear me, and if my face becomes sincere, beware, hold me, and if I start to come undone, stitch me together, save me, and if you see me strut, remind me of what left this outlaw torn. I mean, I'm getting cold chills just reciting the goddamn lyrics to you, It's just his deepest and most personal and introspective stuff ever, and lyrically, it's the best he'll ever do.
Gotcha.
But now, then there's Saint Anger, which was an overblown demo. That really could have been made into a good album with some more production. But even that turd had 5 or 6 songs that I really like, actually including my second favorite, maybe third favorite of his lyrics, a song called The Unnamed Feeling.
Gotcha.
And then, of course, since then, you've had Death Magnetic and Hardwired to Self-Destruct, both of which are fantastic, unquestionably metal albums, and people are still like, Metallica still sucks. Well, man, thrash metal heads ain't happy with those 2 albums. You can't fuck them happy with a gold dildo,
That's fair enough.
But that's my band. I mean, my son's named James after James Hetfield, so,
Right on. How do you feel about Ghost?
Dude, I used to hate Ghost because when I first saw them, I saw a picture somewhere online, and I was like, this is going to be so over-the-top satanic that I'm going to hate it for being cartoonish.
Okay.
But I've got to check it out anyway. So I went and listened to them, and they looked like they did and didn't sound anything like they looked.
They're like, they're an 80s fucking pop band. They're like Starship. They're closer to Starship than they are to King Diamond.
The best comparison I heard was a heavier Blue Oyster Cult.
Are they heavier than Blue Oyster Cult? I don't think they are.
Oh, way heavier. Oh, dude, listen to From the Pinnacle to the Pit. Listen to Ritual. There's a breakdown in the middle of that where it just goes straight metal.
Okay.
Faith off the new album is heavy as shit. What's Rats?
Rats
is pretty good and heavy.
Yeah.
They're getting. There's a tendency to get heavier as the music goes. But I had my stepdaughter over for a visit one time, and somehow Ghost came up, and I absolutely went. Oh yeah, she said she loved him, and I'm like, man, fuck Ghost. And so I like pulled up YouTube and I typed in Ghost, you know, watching it on the TV, and the first song that came up was Square Hammer, and I'm like, they all suck. This will do. Allow me to show you why this band you like sucks. And I played the song, and it didn't suck.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't heavy, but it didn't suck.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things where once the dam broke, it broke all to hell.
Yeah.
So they're absolutely one of my favorite bands these days. And my wife and I saw them here in Chattanooga 2 years ago. Yeah. 2 years ago, and it was the fourth best live show of my life.
Fourth best. I have a picture on the screen now of you in corpse paint. I don't know if this is from that show.
No, that was actually from a St. Patty's on the Parkway, St. Patrick's Day gig we played at a local Irish pub, and they had face painting for the kids. And I thought, I wonder if this chick will do Papa Emeritus face paint. Well, by God, she did.
Okay, all right.
So here the Scarlett Love Conspiracy is in this Irish pub, you know, playing for all these drunks, and I've got this, you know, skull painted on my face.
Just you, though.
Just me.
All right. There you go. I dig it. You know, it's, you know, why not, right?
Yeah. Now I was not the only one in face paint, actually. You had a butterfly. I think my wife had a butterfly painted on her face or something like that, which hers actually made some sense. You know, here I am in this, you know, death metal damn corpse paint thing going on. It was a great gig. We had a wonderful time. But yeah, I'm, you know, used to being the odd man out.
I've only heard the song that I played. What is it? Chained.
Mm-hmm.
That is a great song, but that's kind of in the genre that you guys do. What do you guys call yourself, like?
The simple answer is, much like with MPH, where the simple answer is blues, but it's way more complicated than that.
Okay.
The Scarlett Love Conspiracy, the easy answer is rock, but it's rock by people who know how to properly pronounce the words y'all and dog. You know, it's not Southern rock; it's rock by Southerners, and some of it's harder, like Chained. Some of it is. Like there's a song, a Hill Country Girl, that's a straight up friggin' 3/4 time waltz.
Gotcha.
It's a country, you know, it's a straight country song.
Yeah. And
we kind of, the needle veers wildly between, you know, rock, heavy rock over to country, you know, and anywhere in between. But now Chained, that's a song I'm particularly proud of. My wife and I are unapologetically leftist.
Yeah.
And you know, our drummer and guitar player, Kat and Eric Onley, they're a married couple, too. I don't know if you'd call them leftists. They're just not fascists.
Yeah,
you know, they're just kind of, you know, normal, moderate people. And, you know, Heather wrote this really great lyric. If one of us is chained and none of us are free. And,
it's good. It's
you know, the whole
great line. I dig it.
Yeah, I mean, that line sums up the whole song. Of course, there's more lyrics than that, but that's the crux of it. And, that's kind of a typical songwriting arrangement where she'll write the lyrics and I'll write the music.
Gotcha. Okay, that's cool.
Which is not always the case. She's come a long way in her own guitar playing and is getting to where she's writing songs without me completely, which tickles me. You know, it's great growing your abilities. But I was really, really, really proud, particularly of that one. Not only for how it turned out, but for the message and you know the fact that we are just unapologetically standing up in front of God and everybody. We are on the side of the oppressed. If you don't like it, eat one. You know.
Yeah, no, I get it. And I think it's a good message as far as, you know, if one dude's in prison for 20 years for fucking weed, then, you know, anyone that's ever smoked weed is in prison for 20 years. Like, you know, some laws are ridiculous. You know, I don't know. Anything that can be done to anybody can be done to you.
Yep.
I feel like there's a beauty expressing that and trying to get more people to understand that.
Yeah, we make no bones about that. My weirdo acoustic guitar that I play, which used to be a bass, which was then converted into a 6-string baritone.
Okay.
You remember Doug, former drummer for NPH, had
absolutely.
This Machine Killed Fascist emblazoned, upon his bass drum head. Well, I've got it on my acoustic guitar, so when she and I are playing out somewhere, here's this clear statement of where we lie.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, NPH, we did a 10-day run with a French blues rock 3-piece called Dirty Deep, whom I recommend without reservation. They are great guys and a kick-ass band.
Which band is this? Who is that?
Dirty Deep is their name. They're out of Strasbourg, France.
Okay.
And when I the first time I heard, hey, there's this French blues band that's going to be playing this festival with you, I admit I was a little skeptical because most American blues bands don't get it right. But then I went and saw these guys play, and I'm like, son of a bitch, they've done their homework. These guys are fucking awesome. But we did a 10-day run with them, and we stayed with this guy and his wife down in New Orleans, Louisiana.
Oh, it was a tour of America, like the South?
Yeah, this is just a southeastern tour.
Gotcha.
And ended up in Clarksdale. Didn't that tour end up in Clarksdale, baby? Yeah, that tour started in Greenville, South Carolina, and ended up in Clarksdale, Mississippi. But, between there we played New Orleans. And we had a day off, and we were staying with this guy who was a fan of Dirty Deep, who had extended the offer, hey, if you're ever in town, you need a place to crash, hit me up. And he had this big, beautiful house and this fantastic swimming pool, and
with a waterfall.
And a stripper pole on the pergola by the pool, and a stripper pole in his bedroom.
You just
and well, no, we walked. It was 4 a.m, and I hadn't showered in about 4 days. Touring in the South in a bus with no air conditioning, so you can understand the level of funk.
I've been there.
And so we walked in this guy's back gate at 4 a.m, and I looked around and immediately, shame on me because he shouldn't do this, even though I proved to be right. I looked around and I was like, these people are douchebags. I absolutely do not like them already. Hadn't spoken a word to them.
Yeah.
And we walked in, and, of course, I was kind of bringing up the rear, and people were kind of seated around, and introductions were made and all that shit. And I looked at the host, the guy, and I said, which end's the deep end? And he said, then down there with the waterfall. And I stripped butt-ass naked and jumped in his pool right there in front of God and everybody.
Go get it.
But, the next day we had the day off, and we were supposed to go into New Orleans itself and do the touristy thing.
Yep.
And this guy turned out to be a goddamn Trump humper. Heather was like the first one up that morning. She goes in the kitchen to get a cup of coffee, and this cocksucker's got a Trump bobblehead on his kitchen window. And guy's like, hey, go Trump, huh? And Heather looks at him and goes, I'm a Southern Democrat. just icy stare,
Yeah.
And this guy was trying to pay us out of his own pocket to play the official GOP Low Country Bowl for the state of Louisiana.
What does that even mean? I don't even...
Well, it was the GOP, the Republican Party. It was their official Low Country Bowl, the Louisiana GOP.
Oh, okay. I got you. Yeah, all right.
And they were trying to get us to play there, and they were going to pay us pretty damn well to do it.
Yeah.
And man, we just couldn't do it. We politely declined. We were going to anyway. We had talked about it amongst ourselves. We could have used the money, but
it wasn't worth
it was.
So.
Yeah, it was playing a goddamn Nuremberg rally, And I mean, like the Louisiana. What was the fucking title? The head honcho of tourism and music was going to be there. Like, this would have been a good career move. We just could not do it in good conscience. But I mean, we were talking about it, and we were already, how do we approach it? How do we tell them no without like being dicks about it?
Yeah.
And then they asked us to take Doug's drum head off because This Machine Kills Fascist might have offended somebody there.
Okay.
At that point, we didn't care about being rude anymore. Yeah. And so not only that, when we got back home, I peeled a sticker off of my bass to clear space, and I handed it to Heather with a gold paint pen. I said, your handwriting is better than mine. Please do this. So now my bass, or one of my basses, has This Machine Kills Fascists, emblazoned upon it. So, pretty much any instrument I'm playing in any of my bands, there's likely to be a statement of, political leanings, either in the music or even just visually.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, it's interesting because I feel like the right wing stuff is a little bit more thinking of things as a chess game, and they're a little bit more ahead. They're doing things to provoke a reaction that they know is going to come, so they already have a reaction to it. But this machine kills fascist stickers is kind of defeats that to an extent. It's like, how do you oppose that? That's offensive to you? Because that's don't get me wrong.
Wingers. The right-wingers think that leftists are a bunch of skinny little vegan soy boys, that would wither in the face of any kind of physical opposition. They don't realize that a lot of us are great goddamn big hillbillies.
Yeah.
And, they don't know how to handle us. But when we toured France, so that people would have no mistaken ideas about what kind of Americans we were, Mark would take a Sharpie and write "fuck Trump" on the back of his right hand.
Gotcha, yeah.
And that never failed to get a reaction out of folks. And it wasn't just for a reaction; it was a statement.
Yeah,
and
absolutely. Mark's a very sincere dude.
That tour ended at the Benique Folk Blues Festival in Brittany, Benique, coastal France. And God almighty, dude, we were on stage in front of 30,000 people,
Jesus.
Maybe more. At that time, it was the most people I'd ever been in front of.
You keep saying that. That's great. I love it.
Well, it was Mexico City first, then it was this.
I love it. That's great.
And then, the next one was the next night. There were 40, 50,000 people in front of us then. That was insane. But that was a nighttime gig. For the daytime show, we realized that it was too big for people to see "fuck Trump" on somebody's hand. And I was too sweaty for a marker to actually mark on my skin, so I ran 2 pieces of tape down my right forearm and had this lovely French lady named Marie, whose last name I will not attempt to pronounce for fear of fucking it up. But she was a stranger at the time, but I asked her to scotch tape this thing to my arm. So I ran 2 pieces of white tape down my arm and then scotch tape around the ends to hold it in place. And I gave her a red marker, and in big jagged letters, she wrote "fuck Trump" down my right forearm. And I played the whole show with that. And when I walked out on stage, the people cheered because they are enthusiastic for American roots music, period.
Yeah.
But then they caught sight of that thing, and they absolutely went batshit. And people, let me tell you, if you have never stood on a stage in front of 30 or 40,000 rowdy Europeans pumping your fist in the air and leading them in a rousing chant of "fuck Trump, fuck Trump, fuck Trump," I cannot recommend it strongly enough.
I'm in. Just show me where to sign up. I'm into it.
But yeah, neither of my bands, or I guess I should say all three, because my wife and I also play as an acoustic duo called Resurrection Mary. None of my bands are afraid to take a political stance.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And,
I mean, it's one thing to take a political stance. Most of the shows I play are fucking, 24 people. It's one thing to do that. It's another to do it in front of 30,000 people. I guess that's 30,000. To covet that or to curtail that. 30,000 foreigners is probably different than, if you imagine doing that in front of 30,000 people in Alabama, that,
And I absolutely would.
I know you would. I know.
No
I'm not
fucks
saying
are given,
Yeah. So when was the Paris tour? That was after Mexico, and that's
that was 2018.
Porkchop? Okay.
Yeah, that was me and Doug and Chop, and
so you basically went from being stuck at my house for a week to playing for 30,000 people in Mexico City, and then going to Paris and playing for 40,000. So I was basically the what is it called? The launching pad for your career.
You were the catalyst, actually. You were.
Yeah. You put that in the bio. Once you put "stuck on Kevin's couch for a week and a half," the fucking the offers started pouring in for international.
Look, dude, I'm not blowing smoke up your ass, man. Those 3 days, I believe it was 3-4 days, whatever it was, we were stuck there in Kingston. Jesus Christ, man, that ended up being the most positive tour, especially for something that started as a negative. For the people who are listening who don't know, we were playing Kingston, New York, the Anchor. First time in this town, first time in this bar. And 20 minutes outside town, our van dies. And I'm talking about, in nomine Patri, Filii, Spiritus Sanctus, dies. And so we had to have it towed to the venue, and we were playing with Kevin's band, Red Necromancer. Cool venue. His band was great night. And, we, of course, rolled up with the van on the back of a flatbed. And, you were like, man, look, I'm a touring musician. I know what this is like. Y'all can crash with us. Because we didn't know where the fuck we were staying. We didn't know what it was a Sunday. No, it was Saturday. We didn't know what the fuck was wrong with the van. It was going to be, Monday before we could get it even looked at. And, man, we will never forget you putting us up for those days and the friends we made there in the house and across the street, Sigrid Sarda, we're still buddies. She's down in New Orleans now. And, man, just the way that whole Kingston crew rallied around us and put us up and put up with us and, and took us places when we needed, to go buy our bus. Woodstock, we named the bus Woodstock because it came from Woodstock, from an old hippie who had. Woodstock is no longer a touring vehicle anymore. I'm sad to say. Oh, no. She came from Vermont originally. She was pretty rusty when we got her, and apparently that level of salt corrosion, you can't really stop it, even if you take it out of Vermont. Yeah. So. Before we went on hiatus, she was staying in Clarksdale in Doug's care, and the frame just got too rusted to drive. So it's actually been moved to a place called the New Roxy there in Clarksdale to be used as sleeping quarters and a green room for that venue, which pleases us to no end.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, because we love Robin and Lena, the ladies that run the place, and we love the New Roxy, and we love Clarksdale. And just the fact that our bus that we toured in, that we built the beds in and all that shit, is going to be used for that is about the best end for us that vehicle could have come to. I hate to see her go.
Yeah.
I hate to see her go because she was a great tour vehicle. As a matter of fact, Chop and I have kicked around the idea of buying another bus and fitting it out the same way.
Nice.
But yeah, that all started there in Kingston, man. And I mean, we made friends. By God, that I will be friends with until I am no longer walking this planet. Yourself definitely included.
And I see Francis fucking, commenting on, you guys are
that goofy bastard, man. We're all time back and forth on Facebook.
He's awesome.
Oh, I love that guy.
Yeah. I want to talk about the France stuff, but I'm afraid I'm going to forget about Clarksdale. So I want to talk about Clarksdale first. I'd rather talk about
Clarksdale than France anyway.
Goat Fest, right? Is that what happens down there? Like Husky has told me about this, I believe.
There are 3 festivals down there. Well, actually, when the Rona is not an issue, I think there's 11 different festivals throughout the year down there. Maybe 14. Like it's a lot,
and
because they realize
right? Clarksdale, Mississippi.
Clarksdale, Mississippi, yeah, and they realize that the blues is the only thing that's bringing money into that town, so they push it, real hot and heavy. But of those festivals, all of which are blues oriented to some degree or another, there are 3 that are really really big for sort of punk blues musicians like us, and in no order of importance. I'll list them in the order in which I played them. You've got Deep Blues, which originally actually started up in Bayport, Minnesota, by a guy named Chris Johnson, who's a hell of a good guy. Okay. You got Deep Blues, and then you've got Goat Fest, which is run by my homeboy Todd Laney down out of Austin, Texas.
I feel like Husky has told me about that one.
Dude, Todd is a great guy. Goat Fest actually is my favorite festival. The third one is Juke Joint, which is arguably the biggest. Gotcha. But actually, Goat Fest is probably my favorite, simply because more than any of the other festivals, it is run as an excuse for people who love that music and who love each other, having met on the road, to have an excuse to hang out.
Yeah, gotcha. That's what a lot of the good
it's a festival. It's a festival. It's a show. There's multiple shows. It's all that. There's money involved. There's all that. But really, it's an excuse to hang out with your road dog buddies. I mean, it's a festival that people, musicians, if they're not on tour, they'll go to Goat Fest just to be there with their friends.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, I've definitely heard. Husky has told me great things, and it's fucking.
Oh,
cool.
yeah. Yeah, Clarksdale is one of my favorite places on the face of the planet, hands down. And it actually kind of blew me away because we here in the South realize that we are the redheaded stepchild of the rest of the country.
Well,
You know, a lot of
and
people.
no, to an extent. I mean, it depends where.
I mean,
but-
I'm not saying everybody, but the South has a certain reputation. And some of it's even true, you know? But here in the
only
South,
show I've ever played in Mississippi was in Pascagoula, which
oh my God,
is not
Pascagoula.
necessarily southern. It's like a military base town. That's also
where that Ray Stevens song took place.
What song is that?
You never heard the Mississippi Squirrel Revival?
No, I have not.
Man, sometimes I forget you ain't Southern, dude. Look at
Pascagoula is kind of fucked up, but that's the only place I've ever played. So I've never been to Clarksdale or, you know, wherever the fuck Old Miss is or any of the big, you know.
Well, man, my thing with
What's the
here in
capital
the
of
South-
Mississippi? What's the capital of Mississippi?
I don't fucking know Clarksdale, as far as I'm concerned.
Montgomery? Maybe?
No, actually, the capital of Mississippi is Memphis. If the actual truth be told,
To an extent, yeah, I get that. I say Philadelphia is the
like-
capital of New Jersey in the same way.
culturally,
It's like, right, yeah.
Jackson. My wife, who is smarter than me, says it's Jackson, Mississippi.
Okay.
But, you know, here in the South, yeah, we're the country's redheaded stepchild, but Mississippi is the South's redheaded stepchild.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, things are fucked up here in Chattanooga, but by God, we're not Mississippi, you know?
Yeah. Well, you're right
And-
on the corner. You're on the corner, Georgia, Mississippi, and you're like right
Tennessee,
where you are.
Tennessee, Alabama, and Georgia is the little tri-state area here.
Yeah.
But,
Oh,
So,
so
you
Mississippi's
know-
farther away. I got you. Okay.
yeah, Mississippi's way over on the other end of the state.
Yeah.
But so like I had started playing with Mark and Doug, and I hadn't even left my factory job at the time. We were just kind of doing weekend runs, gearing up to go at it full time, and we had been booked to play Deep Blues. So we went to Memphis, played a show there, and stayed with some friends, and then went down to Clarksdale. And man, here's this state that I have poked fun at my whole damn life. And don't get me wrong, Mississippi has got its problems. God knows it does, you know, politically and economically
Every
and shit
state
like
does,
that.
man.
But I absolutely fell head over heels in love with Clarksdale.
All right.
And, you know,
And
I
where
come
is
back
it in
home.
the state? It's like kind of northern.
It's North Mississippi, yeah.
Yeah.
It's roughly an hour or so south of Memphis.
Okay. Yeah, right on.
But, like, I come back, you know, from that run, and my wife's like, man, what's Mississippi like? And I said, oh, my God, baby, it's amazing, you know? And so we stayed at the Shack Up Inn, which is hands down my favorite lodgings on the planet. And
Dude,
it's
just
literally
been to
an
France
old...
and the Shack Up Inn is his favorite lodging. You're out of your fucking mind.
It's literally, it was an old cotton plantation, the Hobson plantation.
Okay,
now
right
it does not predate the Civil War, so it was not that kind of plantation. But you actually stay in former sharecropper shacks
Yeah.
that they've brought onto the property. Now they've updated them with electricity and running water and bathrooms and stuff like that. But it's like you're staying in these shacks and you're imagining whole ass families in these, you know, one room
it's
shacks.
fucking crazy.
And I was telling Heather about that. She's like, you couldn't pay me to stay there. She goes, why? She goes, it's got to be haunted. I said, baby, let me tell you something. Mississippi is haunted. You know, it ain't like Chattanooga. You know, Chattanooga, you know, is the South, and you could do some digging and find some places that slavery happened around here. But it ain't like that in Mississippi. You're driving down the damn road, you throw a piece of paper out the window, it's going to land on the spot where slavery happened.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
you stop to get gas, and slavery happened there too.
Yeah.
And all these other, you know, square feet of land you're passing, slavery happened right goddamn there. And the weight of those centuries of suffering can still be felt to this day. You know, and like you get down there and you spend some time around the people, and man, the people in Clarksdale are cool. They really are. And it's like, holy shit, this is the crucible. This is the birthplace. This is where the blues coalesced. You know, rock and roll was born in Clarksdale. You know, Ike Turner wrote one of the first rock and roll songs ever, Delta. Was it Rocket 88? in Clarksdale, Mississippi. You know, there's just so much history there, so many musicians from there, and so many other musicians passed through. And I remember asking Chop, I said, what the fuck is it? Why are so many people from Clarksdale or spent time here before leaving Mississippi? And he said Clarksdale was the southernmost rail stop.
Okay.
So people from all parts of Mississippi would make their way north to catch a train, and that put them in Clarksdale, and that would take them north to Chicago or Memphis or Chicago or where the fuck ever else.
Wow, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
So that's why the Blues Hall of Fame in Clarksdale, Mississippi, is actually in the old train depot.
Yeah, fuck yeah, that's fascinating
and so much history there. I mean, I could go on at length, but there's one that I specifically want to point out.
Okay.
My hometown has done a shitty job of embracing and celebrating the fact that the Empress of the fucking blues came from here. Yeah, we've got the Bessie Smith Hall, you know, which is underutilized, but that's it. Dude, Bessie Smith was an underrated badass, not only as a musician, but as a person. She was playing a show in a tent, and the Klan showed up, like a big circus tent, not a camping tent, you know?
Yeah.
And several truckloads of Klan members showed up with their torches and their hoods and axes and shotguns, and they were trying to chop down the ropes to collapse the tent on the show. And Bessie marched her ass out of the tent and straight up punked these guys out with nothing but her voice and her fists. Here's however many guys with axes and shotguns, and she just gets in their asses, and they tuck tail and run. Bessie Smith was a bad motherfucker by any measure, and she drew her last breath in Clarksdale, Mississippi, and every time I go to Clarksdale, she died in what used to be the African American hospital down there, which is now the Riverside Inn, a hotel and sort of blues museum, because like John Lee Hooker lived there, and there's been a number of other notable residents. But Bessie Smith died there, and every time I'm in Clarksdale, I go by the Riverside Inn and pay my respects to Bessie.
Holy shit, man! It's powerful shit.
Yeah, this is the God's honest truth, man. If there's an afterlife, you know, if there is, I hope Bessie's there. And I hope I get to go there too. And I hope, so help me, I hope she comes up to me and says, "Man, you from Chattanooga, you play the blues too. Let's get us a beer."
Fuck yeah, dude.
You know, like seriously, that God's honest. That's like a guiding principle for me. You know, as I play music and especially the stuff I do with Chop is, you know, I want to make Bessie proud. I want her. If I get to meet her if there is a hereafter and I get to meet her in it, you know, I hope she's proud to claim me as a homeboy.
You know what? I'm not optimistic about the fairy tale-ness of that, but I'm proud to claim you as a homeboy, and I hope that there is that for you and that she does, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, even if there ain't, and if she don't, I still try to, because, you know, she's one of my heroes.
Way, man. It's the best way to live your life. I think if more people live their life like that, like everything would be much better off for everybody.
Agreed.
Yeah. Well, it's been fucking great talking to you, dude. Anything else you want to throw in before we finish it up? We're in no hurry here.
Man, everybody that's listening, if you value decency, compassion, and basic humanity, I implore you from the bottom of my heart, if you're not registered to vote, please register. And please go to the polls in November and vote to get Donald Trump the fuck out of office. I know Joe Biden is a problematic candidate on many levels, and there are actually very good reasons that people have put forth why they won't vote to him, up to and including people who are victims of survivors of sexual abuse who cannot in good conscience vote for somebody with credible accusations of sexual misconduct. I get that. But unless you've got some really deep, abiding thing like that to keep you from voting for him, for the sake of keeping our country from imploding into a cloud of fascism and nuclear dust, please vote to get that orange son of a bitch out of the White House in November, and vote blue down ticket. Vote blue for your Congress people, vote blue for your senators, vote blue in your local shit, not because I think the Democrats are so goddamn great, but because it's the only realistic option we have right now to undo the damage that stupid son of a bitch and his enablers have done since 2016.
And then hold them accountable and fucking, seriously, hold them accountable.
Oh, absolutely.
For
Don't
all
let
their
that be
shit.
the end of it. Let that be
needs
the
to
start of it.
We need, like, and I guess it's maybe not the time or place for this, but we need to get Biden elected and then hold him as accountable as Trump has been, media-wise.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Like, one of the best things I've seen is that meme is like, Biden sucks. Vote Biden. And it makes sense. And then underneath they have all the reasons why. It makes perfect sense. Biden sucks. Vote Biden. You know,
Vote Biden.
And this is where we've come. But you can't get better until you fix that shit.
Yeah, it's like I tell people, you know, America is bleeding to death. America has suffered what could very well be a mortal wound. I really wanted Surgeon Sanders to come in and try to really repair some damage. Now that Surgeon Sanders doesn't appear to be an option, I will take Medic Biden slapping a Band-Aid on the wound in the hopes of slowing the bleeding long enough for a surgeon to show up.
Right on. Well,
so other than that, everybody wear your goddamn masks. Stay away from people as much as you can. I realize, you know, you've got to work and keep your bills paid and stuff like that. God knows what the dickheads in your areas are going to do about kids going to school. But everybody, please, let's try to get this goddamn coronavirus under control. A, first and foremost, so people will quit getting sick and dying, and B, so we can start getting out there and playing music again, and we can all be with our friends and fucking hug people and have dinner and go on dates and see movies and go on tour and, you know, damn it, you know, just to try to get back to some sense of normalcy.
Fuck yeah, brother. Lara Hope says, "Love you, Travis Kilgore," in the comments. Just so you,
God, I love her and Matt so much. Definitely, you know, part of the Kingston crew that will forever have such a fond place in my heart. Got a funny Kingston story for you.
Right.
The last time we were there, Laura and Matt put us up at their place, and I volunteered to stay in Woodstock to keep an eye on the gear, primarily because I'm an early riser.
Where'd you play?
But, you know,
you don't have
the
to
Anchor.
Remember. Oh, okay. You played.
No,
okay.
Yeah, the Anchor is the only place we've played in Kingston so far.
Okay.
But Brandy, love you. God love the Anchor. But you know, Matt and Laura put us up, and I volunteered to stay in Woodstock because somebody had to watch the gear, and I'm an early riser, and I didn't want to be like trying to tiptoe around and not wake people up.
Yeah.
So. True to form, I had gotten up first, and I was sitting on a flower planter there on the sidewalk by their apartment, and this great big tall fella come walking down the street, you know, and I'm just sitting there smoking my pipe, enjoying this beautiful morning. And the guy comes walking up to me, and of course, you know, I nod, gregarious dude that I am. And this guy goes, He goes, "How you doing, big man?" I said, "Man, I'm hanging in there like a hair in a biscuit." And he just nods at me and walks around the corner and out of sight. And so help me, like 25, 30 seconds later, this great big dude comes back around the corner and he says, "I just now understood what you said. That shit was funny."
That's awesome.
Well, man, it was great talking to you. Thank you for asking me to be part of this. Hell, anytime you're in a bind for somebody, holler at me.
I forgot to talk about hot fish sandwiches. I really wanted to talk about hot fish sandwiches. God damn it.
Dude, hot fish sandwiches are easy to understand. It's like tilapia or just something
deep
real
fried
white.
Fish.
Deep fried fish, and when they say hot, it doesn't mean spicy. It means straight out of the goddamn grease.
Okay.
And it's either one gigantic fillet or two really big fillets with, you know, lettuce and pickles and tartar sauce and, you know, whatever the hell else you wanted, either on white bread or like a burger bun.
Okay.
And I'm starving to death just thinking about it.
The picture I saw had hot sauce and mustard on it. Like, people were putting mustard on fish sandwiches? Because that's weird to me up here.
I don't know that I've done that, but...
Well, Husky said, too, I want nothing but hot sauce and mustard, and that seems crazy to me, man.
Dude, the next time I get a hot fish sandwich, I'm going to try it that way just because Husky recommends it, and I bet it's badass.
I love that dude, man. But, yeah, I don't know.
Oh, Husky's my fucking homeboy, man.
Yeah, me too. And so are you.
I'm going to fuck around and start a metal band with that guy.
Dude, I just got a double bass pedal. Let me in. I just got a double bass pedal, and I know how to record and send tracks to people. So keep me in mind.
Oh shit, man! We might have to look at a long distance quarantine metal project.
Let's do it, dude. With you two, holy shit! I would love that. Fuck yes.
I've actually got a fantasy metal band. It's halfway a joke, but
it was the one time where you posted about that, and I was like, Sky Page, who's also 45, was like, I'll be a guitar player. So like you being Sky Page, I don't know that she's a thrash metal guitar player per se. I love her to pieces. But
Sky's a sweet. I met her in Clarksdale, as a matter of fact. But yeah, the project is called Slaghammer, and that tells you everything you need to know about. Man, what are you doing tonight, dude? I'm going to the Anchor. Who's playing? Slaghammer.
Yeah.
You know it's a goddamn metal band. You've even got a pretty good idea of what they sound like.
Yeah. Good grief. Yeah, I'm into it.
All right, well, look, man, I'm caffeinated, and I'll talk all goddamn night, so I'm going to get out of here so you can get on with your next guest. Man, thank you so much. I love you. I miss you. I love and miss all my friends there in Kingston. Everybody, please be safe. Vote that orange son of a bitch out, and let's try to get back to a normal life.
All right, Travis. Love you, bud.
All right, love you too, man.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
All right, that was Travis from Mark Porkchop Holder and MPH. Also some other bands, the Scarlett Love Conspiracy. It's a good dude. We got Jared from Carrie Nation coming up next. He's one of my fucking favorites. So we're gonna play a song by his band now, but I'm gonna pee first. So let's get to that. My whole idea all day was like, don't get too drunk before you get to Jared. We'll see if that works or not. I don't know. Who only time can tell, right, motherfuckers? 50 beers, Tuesday afternoon.
15 beers on a Tuesday afternoon. That sounds about right. That sounds metal as fuck.
15 beers on Tuesday afternoon is a Crazy Rev Kev production.